Hello everyone and welcome to RcHelpDotCom. I'm Tony and today we're starting the 3GX series all over again. I sort of jumped ahead in the last videos, that's my bad, I do apologize. In this series we're going to be starting from step 1. Now your manual was on a disc whenever you got your 3GX. If you don't have it, come over to the website, download the version 3.1, which is the version we're going to be working on, and that will come with a program that you put on your computer and you can program your gyro. It has step-by-step instructions in it. I know that the Chinese or Taiwanese to English, the translation is sort of not that great. I'm here to explain it to you, and I'm going to walk you guys step by step through every process of getting this 3GX in the air and adjusting the settings. This includes setting up all the flight mode parameters on the computer as well as on the gyro itself. Now, as you can see, I've got a 3GX sitting here in front of the camera, but I've also got one mounted on my helicopter. I'm running a 450 Pro version 2, and I have it mounted in the position number 1, which is up on top behind the anti-rotation bracket. You can put it in position number 2 if you like, and we'll get more into that in a later video. But for now, we're only going to deal with position number 1, where the label is facing up. So obviously, the first thing you have to do is you have to install your software. It's going to come with a disk, but like I said, if you don't have the disk, then come over to the forum and download the software and then install it on your computer. Installing it is not hard. If you need help with installing it, come over to the forum. I don't see a reason to actually show you guys how to download it and install it. It is pretty self-explanatory, but if you need help, come over to the forum. We are more than happy to help you guys out. Once you fire up the program, this is what you're going to see. The first thing you're going to notice is they've got a T-Rex 700E sitting on the right side to make you envious to buy something bigger. At least that's how it is for me. On the left side, it's going to tell you, this program guide will walk you through connecting the 3GX, change settings, select the tab to enter settings page, blah blah blah. We're going to go through every bit of this. What we need to do is we need to click next. In the next menu, the first thing that's going to come up is installation in the helicopter. Now, as you can see here, we've got one mounting pad, and I suggest trying it with one mounting pad first, and if that doesn't work, then put a second mounting pad. Don't run more than 2. As you can see here, this is upright, and this is upside down, label up, label down. Do not mount your 3GX on the side, and do not mount it on the side of your helicopter with the wires facing up or down. It will not work if you mount it in one of these two locations. Either mount it on the anti-rotation bracket, which is up here on top of the helicopter on the align, it's behind the head. There is a bracket down there that you can mount this to upside down with the label facing down. Just make sure these wires are facing forward or back. It doesn't matter which way it faces as long as the arrow is facing the nose or facing the tail. It has to be going with the tail boom. So the next step in mounting it is actually connecting up the gyro. There are 3 different ways you can do this. As you can see here, we've got the standard receiver connectivity method. This one is where you connect a standard receiver. This could be Futaba, JR, Spektrum, it could be the Turnigy 9X, it could be any radio that is 6 channels, and you'll have to use the wires that come with your 3GX to connect it up. I'm going to show you that here in just a little bit, but let's take a look at the Futaba S.Bus connection. We'll click next. This is how the Futaba S.Bus is going to be plugged in. It's one S.Bus wire that comes out and it goes down here into this bottom right port. Now if we look on the gyro itself, as you can see it says S.Bus and bind down there on the bottom right. As you can see here, you've got a bunch of set of pins going across the top that are going vertically. Then you have 2 sets of pins on the bottom that are going horizontally. Your battery, if you happen to run an external BEC, your battery is going to go on the bottom left, and then your bind plug or your battery out or your S-Bus is going to go on the bottom right. Now for you JR and Spektrum guys, this couldn't get any easier at all. As you can see in this diagram, you've got 2 receiver satellites, and it's easy as pie to connect this thing up. You plug in your receiver satellites, and then you plug your servos into your gyro. As you can see here, we've got antenna 1 and antenna 2. But for now, we'll click back twice and we'll go back here to the standard receiver connectivity method, and I want to show you guys right now how to connect all this up. Alright, I've got 3 sets of wires here. The red, white, and black is going to be your main power wire. These wires here are only for signal. These do not carry power. If you notice, they are real thin. They're not a thick wire because they don't really carry very much current at all. The way we connect these up is look at the diagram in the 3GX software. It tells you exactly where they go. Also, if you look real closely on the top of the 3GX, it gives you the color coding of where these wires are supposed to go. But you don't know what color goes to what. That is where the software comes into play. As you can see here, we've got green, blue, purple, red, orange, yellow. Each one has a specific purpose. So what we need to do is we need to take our main power wire and we're going to plug this into the battery port. Now on Spektrum receivers, the signal wire always goes towards the label. So we'll plug that one in right there. So the first thing we're going to start out with is we're going to start out with the brighter color wires, the yellow, the orange, and the red. The yellow is going to be your pitch. That's going to be your auxiliary 1. So we'll plug that into auxiliary number 1. The orange wire is going to be your elevator. Plug that directly into the elevator port. And finally on this one, the red wire is your aileron. Plug it into the aileron port. Now we'll move over here to the second set of wires. We got purple, blue, and green. We'll start out with the purple. Purple is going to be your throttle. Plug that into the throttle port. Your blue is going to be your gyro gain. Now the gyro gain on the Spektrum receivers is going to be your gear channel. So we'll just go ahead and plug that right into the gear channel. And then finally, your green wire is going to be your rudder, the only one left. Alright, as you can see here, we've got a whole bunch of empty holes, but our signal wires are all plugged in. This is going to tell the 3GX what it needs to do when you start giving stick inputs. Now what we need to do is take our black, red, and white wire and plug it into the bottom right port. Remember, on this one, the ground wire always goes to the left. Next, we're going to take these bright colored wires. Be sure to look on here to know how these things are going to be plugged in. Remember, if you're looking at it like that, remember that, and then turn it just like this. That's going to tell you where it goes. As you can see, the yellow is on the bottom, so we need to put our yellow on the bottom, and then just plug it in. Finally, we got our purple, blue, and green. Purple's going on the bottom, and we'll plug it in just like this. Now the steps from here are going to be to bind these two to your radio. This is going to be the same for satellites or a connectivity like this. It's not going to differ. The bind process is the exact same. So guys, this is how you connect it up if you're running a 6-channel transmitter. Like I said, if you're running a Spektrum or a JR, 7 channels or more, you don't have to use these wires. But unfortunately, if you're running 6 channels, you do have to run this method, or if you're running anything other than Spektrum or Futaba, you have to run it this way. And quite honestly, 3 wires is not that bad. Alright, so as you can see, we've got our gyro mounted. I've only got one piece of double-sided tape. This is closed cell. It's real thin, real sticky. I've got one satellite receiver. 450 and smaller guys, you can get away with one. I suggest 2, but you can get away with 1. 500 and bigger, guys, do me a favor. Do everybody a favor. Stay safe. Run dual satellites if you're running a 500 size or bigger. A lot of carbon fiber. There's a lot of electrical interference on these frames. Just do yourself a favor and stay safe with 2 of the satellite receivers. What we need to do is we need to plug our ESC in. None of these others are plugged in. Now you need to bind your radio to the receiver. If you're running the standard receiver, then go ahead and put your bind plug in your receiver. If you're running just the 3GX, then you'll put your bind plug down here in the bottom right port and you'll bind it up that way. If you need help with binding it up, come over to the forum and we'll help you out. This is a 3GX video and I'm not going to get into a lot on what to do in the radio. So now what we got to do is we need to connect this to the computer so that we can start changing some parameters. Obviously, you're already bound up. What we need to do is we need to take the dongle that come with it and we need to plug it in to that data port. Now the pins are on the bottom. We need to check this, make sure they're on the bottom, and then just plug it in. Now with it plugged in, we need to turn our radio on, and then we need to plug in our battery. Now you'll see a sequence of lights up here as it's initializing. Now remember, we don't have any servos hooked up to this. We need to verify our settings before we put the servos in. It's better to be safe than sorry, guys. Alright, take your USB cable. You will need a USB extension cable to plug into this thing because this is not very long at all. You might be able to extend this and make this longer, but just get a USB extension, guys. They're not that expensive. Alright, so now, looking at the program on your computer, we'll plug our USB cable into our computer, and as you'll see on the top right, it'll go from check USB device and being yellow, and it'll go to green, and it'll just say USB. As you can see here, we got the green USB. Here is our version. We're version 3.1. Now we know that we're connected up to it. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and move on with the setup. Guys, now that you've got your 3GX mounted, if you have any questions, come over to the forum and we'll be more than happy to help you guys out. In the next video, we're going to be going through the DIR settings and the rudder setup. We've already done this before, but we're going to be putting this into this series so that everybody can follow along as we're getting them done. So guys, like I said, if you have any questions whatsoever, come over to the forum. We'll be more than happy to help you guys out. I want to thank you guys for watching. I look forward to seeing you on the forum, and we'll see you guys in the next video.